Power Rangers Mystic Force is what I would call a cult classic. Although magic has been used in the Power Ranger world since Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, this was the first time that a whole entire team of Power Rangers used magic. Coming off a time where magic was really popular in kids shows, it definitely found a core audience and caused a large group of people to call Mystic Force their favorite season of Power Rangers. And of course, it's got a lot of good things going for it. It's got a large cast of great characters and a lot of really good plot twists in it. Now, before our beloved Power Rangers Mystic Force, there was actually the Mystic Warriors, who were led by Liembo. They fought in the Great Battle, which took place in the magical realm. We also know that the Mystic Warriors were trained by the Snow Prince. And honestly, that's pretty much all we know about them. Their identities really aren't revealed. That's about it. Now, there's some fan theories out there that are saying that all of the Mystic Force Rangers are related to the Mystic Warriors. And I would say I agree with that. But I would also go back another generation and say that the Mystic Warriors were the descendants of the Mystic Knights.
In a faraway land of beauty and peace, one woman threatens to destroy it all.
Go. Destroy, Cows!
Only 4 heroes can save their land. They are the Mystic Knights of Tirnano. Coming Saturday, September 12th, only on Fox Kids.
And going into that theory, the magical realm is actually the land that contains Tir na Nog, Kells, and Tamara, which would connect the Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog to Power Rangers Mystic Force. Now, I have seen some YouTube comments on clips of Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog of people asking, hey, is this related to the Mystic Force season of Power Rangers? And it's usually met with a lot of people just saying, no, they have nothing to do with each other. Stop it. Yes, the names are very similar. It's kind of an easy connection to just say, well, they're connected because the names are so similar. When you start digging into the actual details of the show, you can quickly actually find that there is actually a pretty good connection between the two, and it would make a lot of sense. It would clear up a lot of questions in the show and would actually prove a couple plot points that are kind of left open in the Power Ranger universe. One of those plot points that could be explained through this connection could be the son of Rita Repulsa and Lord Zedd, Thrax, but we'll get to that later. Hey guys, my name is Casey. I'm really passionate about Power Rangers. My main YouTube channel is actually about music, but I love Power Rangers. I've wanted to make this video for a long time, and if you like it, please subscribe just so I know that, hey, maybe I should make more videos on the topic. I don't know how much I'm going to do this, but I appreciate you checking out the video. So let's get into the theory. Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog was Saban's first completely original live-action show, airing in 1998 to 1999. It's strange because a lot of Power Ranger fans forgot about this show. When you see 50 episodes, it's confusing why it doesn't have a bigger impact. The only show before this that was completely filmed 100% by Saban was Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. But since the Ninja Turtles was a well-established brand at this point, and that show was actually repurposing the idea from a failed 4th movie, Mystic Knights was really the first brand new concept to Americans and most of the world. The story is very loosely based on an Irish mythology. Jumping into mythology was something that was very popular at the time. Hercules was a big deal. Xena, Warrior Princess, was at the top of the ratings. And they had just started production for a Young Hercules series that was also going to be competing during Power Rangers. If you're going to look at a show's success, I think it's important to look at the air dates. The first 27 episodes ran from September 12th, 1998 to November 20th of that year, which was accompanied by the last half of Power Rangers in space. Towards the end of this first set, there was a 5th Knight introduced named Garrett, just like Power Rangers introduced a 6th Ranger. The season took a break from new episodes from Thanksgiving until the very last week of January. The second set of 23 episodes ran from January 30th, 1999 to May 7th of that year, accompanied by the first half of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. The second half was pretty hard to follow for several reasons. The first one is that the newly introduced Knight, Garrett, was simply missing in lots of new episodes. They didn't talk about him or even have him in the intro song. It was just as if he was never in the story, and then all of a sudden he returns. It made it feel like you were watching reruns when they were actually new episodes. In 1999, towards the end of the show, McDonald's had a run of Mystic Knights toys. That excluded Garrett as well, which really doesn't make sense since it featured a toy of Lugad, who was introduced late in the series after Garrett. There's a great unboxing video of this whole set at Lucky Penny Shop's YouTube channel. I highly recommend it if you want to get a look at them. Imagine if Tommy Oliver was turned evil, fought the Rangers, turned good, was in about 5 episodes, and then left for 15 episodes with no explanation. The character would never have gained popularity like that. Not to mention the character of Garrett was intended to come off a bit unsettling at first. This gives a great foundation to get the audience to grow to love the character, but he just sort of appeared as a good guy after he got his armor. Star Wars has done a great job at taking an annoying character and showing them mature and grow, but Mystic Knights didn't really do that.
It's time for another big adventure with Fox Kids' mightiest Mystic Knight sweepstakes. Watch Mystic Knights and then tell us who you think is the mightiest Mystic Knight in the kingdom. Rohan, Ivar, Deirdre, or Angus. And you can win $10,000 to create your own amazing adventure. 1,000 other winners will be knighted with a meal at McDonald's and a Mystic Knights of Tirnanog home video. To enter, give us your name, address, and your pick for the mightiest Mystic Knight by June 1st to Fox Kids' Mightiest Mystic Knight, P.O. Box 4040, Beverly Hills, 90213.
Most toy companies put toys out right before Christmas, the exact time the show took a hiatus. Chaim waited and put toys out in the summer. That way all the new toys from Christmas were old news and the Power Ranger toys had no competition. This was explained in the Toys That Made Us Power Rangers episode on Netflix. But the Ranger seasons aired from February to November, getting kids excited to buy new toys in the summer. Then the next season would start in February, get kids excited, and they'd buy the new toys. A mini conspiracy theory I have within this one is that Saban put the toys out at a good time for Power Rangers, but it was bad timing for the Mystic Knights. They were out in the fall of 1998 before the show really got traction. I think that by the time Christmas rolled around, kids weren't focused on Mystic Knights. They then came out with another line of toys in the spring of 1999, but the show was so inconsistent with new episodes that I think it hurt toy sales. That really is just a theory, but I think it might hold water. It was also sandwiched between 2 Power Rangers seasons set in space. I think kids got really hooked on Power Rangers in space. Lost Galaxy was a great continuation of that concept. Personally, I was pretty invested in Power Rangers at the time, and my mom wouldn't let me watch Mystic Knights because it had magic. And that's completely true. I also never celebrated Halloween. Where are my Harvest kids at? The bottom line was that the show did well. It had good ratings, but the toys didn't sell, which is a shame because they were amazing looking toys, but they were the complete opposite of Power Rangers and space travel. There is a rumor that they cut the show to put the money into Lost Galaxy. Yes, the budget was moved to Lost Galaxy and Digimon, the animated series, but they didn't cut it for that purpose, like most people go around saying. This was confirmed by Scott Pagter. It is unclear how Scott was involved in Mystic Knights. He co-produced a huge amount of Power Ranger episodes and did voice acting, but I didn't find any information on what he did for this show. But from the panel video, it sounds like he was doing post-production work. This is just a side note, but if you are a big old Power Ranger nerd like me, there is a controversial article that Scott came out and said that David Yost didn't leave the show due to harassment over homophobia, but left because he lost a pay bonus. He told this to TMZ soon after David Yost's interview with Pink Spandex. I've known about David's side of the story for a long time, but never heard anything about this accusation, which is strange to me, but who knows the real story? I don't know. If you've never seen Mystic Knights or completed the series, I just want to warn you that there are spoilers ahead. I have to reveal some of these spoilers because of the theory. Now, the Mystic Knights are basically a medieval Power Ranger. Rowan, who is also known as the Warrior Draganta, is the leader, the chosen one. Much like Nick or Bowen being the light, Rowan also has a Battle Fury armor upgrade, much like Nick's combination with Fireheart. But he is pretty rigid and wants to complete his mission. A smart guy, I would say kind of like a Billy character. Angus is the lovable thief, sort of comic relief character in a lot of ways, and the best friend of the leader. very much like Zack and Jason's relationship. Deirdre is the princess of Kells and is the female of the group. I would say she's much more of a Kimberly. Kimberly was kind of a valley girl, so she's kind of like spoiled in sort of that way, I guess you could say. Garrett is an arrogant prince from a faraway land who comes in later in the series and becomes the Fifth Knight, much like a Tommy character, only he was never really evil. The Mystic Knights also have a dragon friend named Pyre, much like the Mystic Force Rangers have Fireheart. Aideen is a fairy that assists the Knights. Honestly, this character is the only reason the Knights are alive. She saved their butts in practically every episode. She's sort of an alpha character, always helping the Knights. She is the most underrated character and gets treated like garbage by a lot of the Knights most of the time. Kind of a weird thing, I guess, back in the 90s, just kind of, they thought it was funny to like kind of be mean to this character. I don't know why, but she is ultimately the best character in the show. Cad is a sorcerer who trains Rohan from birth and is sort of like a Zordon to them, but isn't a constant voice of reason like in most Power Ranger seasons and a mentor, but he is around at times. King Conifer is the king of Kells. And to be honest, after watching this season for a second time, his character, although makes sense in the time period and the lore of the story, honestly doesn't provide almost anything to the Knights. If anything, he actually shows a pretty terrible amount of leadership, which kind of makes me beg the question, is he really the good guy, or is Maeve actually the good guy who is trying to get her land back? King Finvera is the fairy king. There are episodes that show he is also quite a terrible leader to his people. It took Miter about 10 seconds to convince the fairies to overthrow him. But he is sort of a ninja character who doesn't go into combat, but provides wisdom here and there, helps them find their powers and magic. He's also the one who tells them about Pyre. The evil Queen Maeve is definitely the Rita Repulsa of the season. Evil, but the plot twist we find is that she is Rohan's mother, as well as Lugad, who comes in the season later. Miter would be sort of an evil, more influential, powerful Finster. Helps make most of the monsters for Maeve. He is an evil fairy. Torque is a former general of Kells, but now fights for Maeve and Tamara. It's never really explained why or when that happened. It's noted that he was the most respected and noble general in all of the land, according to King Conifer. Torque portrays a Goldar-like character, especially in the second season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as Goldar kind of became more of a comical character. There's some episodes where Torque dresses up as like an old woman and dresses up in different disguises, and it just kind of has some really corny moments. Lugad is an evil monster knight thing, and later it's revealed that he's Rowan's brother. He was raised by Nimain, who is a very powerful sorceress. Nimain, at the end of the season, overthrows Maeve and leaves us with a cliffhanger of what could have been. So connecting these two, of course, the powers of these two teams are pretty generic, you may say. Of course, you have Rowan and Nick, both with the power of fire, Ivar and Maddie with water, Deirdre and Vita, both with the power of air, Angus and Xander both possessing the earth power. Although Angus's power really pertains to stone, but Garrett's power is of the forest, which makes more sense considering Xander uses roots. So that leaves us with Angus, the Mystic Knight of Earth or Stone, and Chip, the Mystic Force Ranger of Light. If you stop there, you may say, well, the theory is no good. Not every Ranger can be a descendant of the Mystic Knights. But I dug a little deeper and I was blown away. Now there's speculation of a second season that was cut called Mystic Knights Battle Thunder. If you look up the toys, you can actually find some mock-ups they made for the new season. These introduced a new character named Liam, the Mystic Knight of Lightning. It's been confirmed Vincent Walsh, who played Angus, wanted to leave the show before knowing it was canceled, so they planned to switch his character out for a new character, Liam, and make the character of Garrett a bigger part of the show. Chip would be a descendant of Liam. Also, last but not least, Pyre, the fire-breathing dragon friend of the Mystic Knights, would have laid the last dragon egg, resulting in the Mystic Force's companion, Fireheart. Now, I will admit I got really nerdy and found myself writing out a whole episode-by-episode outline of what would potentially be Mystic Knights Battle Thunder that would connect it into Mystic Force. If you're interested in seeing that, I would love to do a breakdown video of it, but I'll see if anybody actually wants to watch it. If it seems like something people want, I'll post it. So let's get to it. The theory is that Angus falls in love with a princess who washes up on the shores of Tamra. She turns out to be the Snow Princess. Her brother is the Snow Prince, who trains the Mystic Warriors later. Angus and his new love take off to her land, having 2 daughters. Udana and Neela are raised being taught magic by their parents. When the time comes to them to truly master their abilities, Angus sends them to Cad. Although, of course, ribbing him a little bit, he admits that he's the strongest magic user he's ever known. So they set off to Tir na Nog. The 2 girls would eventually meet a young Liembo and his sister, Lebeho. I can't say this name. This is a made-up character, of course. I can't even pronounce it, but it's Irish for warrior maiden, so I thought it would be fitting. These are the children of Rowan and Deirdre. As we know, Udana and Liembo fall in love and have their son Bowen, or Nick, who become the Red Ranger. Side note, there's a character in Mystic Knights called Balin. He was the protector of Kells before the Mystic Knights. Just interesting that the names sort of feel similar, and maybe they named Bowen after this legendary warrior. But Liembo's sister, the Pink Mystic Warrior, would actually marry Keelan, the Blue Mystic Warrior. Keelan would be the son of Ivar and a human form of Aideen. Aideen was hopelessly in love with Rowan in the first season, but Battle Thunder could have given Ivar and her a chance to become close. There is an episode where she becomes human, and although she does regain her fairy form, she may go back to being human if it's for love. So Keelan and Liembo's sister have 2 daughters, Vita and Madison. Vita inherits her mother's power of air and also receives a bit of fairy magic from her grandma, Aideen. Madison, of course, receives the power of water as her dad and grandfather possessed. Xander is the son of Rhonda, the green female mystic warrior, possessing the power of the forest. In the show, Garrett meets a young woman, Lynette. He leaves the Knights for a while to be with her. If they had a child, that would be the perfect descendant of Xander. Now we come to our never-before-seen knight, Liam. I propose that Liam has 2 children. Orin, who becomes the yellow mystic warrior and the father of Chip. But I think Liam also is the father of Daggeron, the Solaris Knight. This would make Chip his nephew, which I believe would make a really incredible connection for the 2 characters. Now, after the great battle, I believe that Orin would be called on by the Mystic Mother to become the Sentinel Knight from Operation Overdrive. I'll explain why this is important later, but it makes sense that Orin would become the Sentinel Knight, as the Sentinel Knight's character is also voiced by the actor who plays Chip. You could ask a few questions like, how did the Mystic Warriors send their children off to the real world, and the kids have no idea? Well, there are a few options. One could be that the Mystic Warriors are very much alive. They made it out and agreed to live quiet, sensible lives and raise their children. This is possible after going through the Great Battle. I'm sure a lot of people would just want to live a normal life. The other option would be that their parents wanted them to live happy lives and remove the memories of themselves from their children. But that's getting into magic. Oh, wait, the show is about magic. Perfect. So besides figuring out a family tree, there's other details that are important. Liembo has the power of fire just like his father Rowan. Liembo in battle fights with the Sword of Kells, his father's sword, but somehow comes across the Buckler of Bree. The Buckler of Bree is a shield that was wielded by Torque, Maeve's general, for an episode. The shield can shoot beams. This shield is considered evil, which is why the Knights didn't use it. Liembo uses the Buckler of Bree combined with the Sword of Kells. This allows the good in Liembo to be compromised, and when Korag's spirit goes into Liembo, the Sword of Kells and the Buckler of Bree become his new wolf shield and sword. Now the series leaves off with Ni Main in power. The discontinued toy line that was mocked up for fall 1999 showed 4 monsters. The Crab Commander, Scorpion Sentry, Spider Fighter, Hornet Warrior would be a great set of generals for the Mystic Knights to go against. Partway through, Torque could come back and fight for Ni Main, as the show left off with him escaping. This all makes for what seems like a great what could have been season. There's another fan theory that I am going to kind of piggyback off of. Everybody knows that Rita Repulsa became the Mystic Mother. Now, there's a theory that Lord Zedd is the master of all evil because he isn't present in this time. So I think this could be really well explained using Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. I think it would make sense for Rita and Zedd to have traveled to the magical realm after Countdown to Destruction. Rita and Zedd possibly were looking for a way to restore their magic so they could start using it for good. But along the way they encountered Nimane. Nimane tricked them and restores Zedd to being evil again, even restoring his staff to him. Nimane is unsuccessful in turning Rita evil and eventually casts a spell to send her away. Eventually, Lord Zedd's quest to become more powerful would lead him to becoming the master of all evil, which I think is pretty fitting. He really was one of the scariest villains on the show. Ultimately, it would be a great arc, but this would also allow him to pass on his Z-Staff to his son Thrax. Nimane raised Lugad, Rowan's brother, and turned him into a monster. She did the same thing to Thrax, turning him into the evil monster that he would become. Rita, now the Mystic Mother, wanted to save her son and called on Orin to help her. She gave him the power of the Sentinel Knight. This would later result in the battle between Orin the Sentinel Knight and Thrax. Orin would find that there was no good in Thrax left and would end up sending him to the moon much like his mother. Thrax is definitely a character that raises some controversy, but this to me makes the most sense as to how he would become evil and how he has his father's staff. I've heard a few people say he was on the moon for 1,000 years. I rewatched this origin story, and he just says he was on the moon for many years, so I think this theory holds up. So tell me what you think about these theories. Do you think it's believable enough? I think for two shows that are almost 10 years apart and changed companies partway through, it's pretty amazing that this could have so many similar details. Now, some people ask why Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog never appeared on Netflix, while the rest of the Saban live-action universe was on there. It's because when Saban bought back Power Rangers, some of the other shows were left out, Mystic Knights being one of them. You'd think it wouldn't have been that much to get the show back. It was a short-lived one, and I'm sure Saban even forgot about it. Although there are bootleg copies on the web to watch, it would be nice to see a good quality version uploaded to Disney Plus or something in the future. So let me know what you think, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.